Hi, Malti.
Right, so we'll start. Good evening, everyone. A very, very warm welcome to each and every one of you. We are glad that we still continue to be here every Thursday, despite everything that happens. All right, so we have with us Divya. A very warm welcome to you, Divya, and we look forward to listening to your talk. And I request everyone to kindly keep their audio on mute because this is being recorded. All right. We begin with the school prayer by Deepti. Over to you, Deepti.
O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee feel one with every other.
Thank you, Deepti. And now I once again request you, Deepti, to kindly introduce our esteemed speaker.
Our speaker for today is Divya Madhur. Divya Madhur is a certified spiritual healer and teacher, a relationship coach, and a TEDx speaker. She coaches people on key life areas, primarily relationships. Her work involves healing people from deep traumas, abuse, and overcoming limiting mindsets and beliefs. She is a TEDx speaker on how love can rewire us to thrive. She believes that we are all love at our core, and that's the most authentic version of us. However, it gets buried inside due to the layers of guilt, shame, hatred, jealousy, etc. Her work is all about bringing people back to the core of who they are and building loving relationships. We are happy to welcome once again Ms. Divya Madhur.
Right. Thank you, Deepti. Very warm welcome to Divya. And now it's over to you.
Thank you so much, first, everybody, for the warm welcome and the introduction. All right. Today we're talking about navigating relationships. Now, I'm sure everybody here or everybody who's going to listen in the recording or later on definitely has at least one relationship in their life, so they understand what relationships are. I think something that forms most of our hours in the day that we spend and most of our time in our life is also relationships. And a lot of our heart space, a lot of our mind space, everything kind of gets invested in relationships. So what are relationships really? I'm just trying to break the word and bring it to you in terms of a relationship is really a ship where two people decide to come in and set up rules of engagement in whichever capacity that they bring that in. Now, even if you were to look at a mother and child for that matter, even they are coming together as souls and setting up an engagement and setting up the contract or setting up the way they would navigate this relationship. And this is something that happens literally between each and every one of us, even if we meet anybody in the capacity of a parent, of sibling, or friends, or co-workers, or anybody who's had any kind of impact in your life. So relationships is something that we are living in and out in our lives in every way possible. So I think one primary thing that I would like to begin with is that, relationships, we may feel all of them is with the other, is on the outside, but the primary relationship that defines...
7:30.
Kindly mute yourself, Suma. Please mute yourself, everyone.
All right, so I can continue. Yeah. So the primary relationship that defines how each and every relationship outside of us would be is the one that we have with ourselves. And yes, it may sound like, what does that even mean? My relationship with myself is great, but then my relationship with others is not working. Well, just being probably devil's advocate in the moment, but then that's the truth of how our soul works or how our life or reality works, that we navigate the relationships outside of us based on how we navigate the relationship we have inside of us with our own self. So everybody else outside is a reflection of what's going on inside. So each time you're at a point of wow in the relationship, or you're at a point of sorrow in relationship, it would always come back to who are you in the relationship with your own self? How are you showing up in the relationship with your own self? So that's a question that you can keep posing to yourself in each and every moment when you are at every point where you don't feel content, or you feel really content and you feel, okay, this gives me a lot of peace, which means what has happened inside of you. So in every given point of time, whenever you experience relationships, any relationship for that matter, that is very soulful and very heartful, where do you really feel that in the body? Where do you feel it? Do you feel it in the mind, or do you experience that in the heart, or do you experience that in your entire body? And from where I understand, or from where I am able to see it, or I'm able to experience it, it actually is felt so deeply in the heart, and it's felt in the body. The sense of relaxation, the way our bodies move, the way our nervous system feels at peace, at ease. You may feel that there are people with whom, when you are sitting down, you feel sleepy. You don't feel sleepy because you're bored. You actually feel sleepy because the nervous system is relaxed, because that's how you feel around them. You feel safe, right? So who's experiencing in this form and shape that we are here in, right? Who's experiencing the relationship? It's your heart and it's your body, right? And it's such an irony that most of the relationship we're trying to live is in our minds, but then the real relationship is actually felt in the body and it's felt in the heart. Now, how do we really get to know that we are in a relationship and we're feeling something, or we're experiencing a relationship? I think there is this first sense of connection, which we in different ways kind of term love. Again, depends. Everybody's definition of love is very individual. From where I see love is the energy of creation, is the energy with which each of us are created. We were all born into love, we were born as love, and we'll leave this world as love. So love is an infinite energy that continues to exist. So what happens when you meet the other? When you meet the other, the connection that you feel is actually the love that you feel coming alive, the love of creation coming alive, and then there is a sense of belonging. Now all of us, each and every one of us, there is a need in us to belong. Even if you see animals, herds, or birds for that matter, you would see they all move in packs. They all move in, a unit of a certain number of them moving together, because that sense of belonging is something that is very innate to all of us. We all want to belong. Sometimes, some people would say that I belong to the scientist kind of community. Somebody would be like, okay, I'm like engineer and I'm amongst the engineers. Or probably you'd say that I belong to people who come from a certain spiritual practice, or you would say that I come from a certain community. So many ways. But how do we define ourselves? We define ourselves so much by so many tags that we've attached to ourselves, which is where belonging comes in. And I'm not judging the tags in any way. All I'm trying to bring your attention to is that those are things that indicate where do you like to belong, where is your heart calling you to belong. Okay, so the belonging is a very important part of relationships. Another aspect of relationships is that all of us, each one of us, do we still think that we are really self-sufficient? We can do everything by ourselves. We don't need the other. There's no way that we can exist on this planet all by ourselves, quite literally, right? So the sense of community is so important. The sense of external support is very important. In the world of nuclear families, the amount of isolation and the amount of not individuality really, but then the way we are kind of isolated into a certain space without experiencing community is so high that we've really forgotten what community looks like. But relationships are a great a sense of they bring in a sense of community, and it's so deeply important in relationships. And that's why we look out for relationships. That's why we have friendships. That's why we have so many different kinds of groups that we are part of, or we go to different kind of events, because we're looking for a community to engage in. We can't be surviving by ourselves alone. We were not made to do like that. We were not made like this. Another aspect is safety, which I think which came up earlier as I was speaking. Now, we may feel that we're really safe because today we don't live in a world where we are afraid of attack every now and then. But our primal instincts are that we do have those fears because our genes have come from, hunter-gatherer kind of space where our ancestors have come from there. And we still have that fear that are very innate in us. And safety is something that we all seek. Now, safety is not just physical. wherein somebody's not attacking me, or I don't have a house, not like that. I think most of us, at least in this conversation here, we all have the basics met. We have a basic safety taken care of, which is very physical in nature, that there's food on table, there are clothes on the body, there's shelter on the head. But at the same time, the other needs which also accumulate safety is or also kind of communicate safety is emotional safety. Are you feeling emotionally safe in your relationships? Are you feeling mentally safe in your relationships? Are you feeling relationally safe in your relationships, right? We don't really go navigate relations as such. We don't look at that. We just take relationships and assume that it's safe, but not all relationships actually are safe in the relationship space. You may have a great friend, but probably they're not as safe with your partner, right? So they may be very different within small nuances that happen in relationships. Yeah. And are you feeling financially safe? Are you feeling spiritually safe? These are 5 aspects which are very, very important for any relationship to feel safe for you. And again, all of these are felt. They are not thought, they are felt. So please remember that any aspect that you're going to look at navigating any relationships cannot be navigated with the mind. It can only and only be navigated with the heart and the body. The safety you will really feel in the body. Your gut talks about safety, gut talks about physical safety, and it also communicates about any kind of dangers that may be coming up. There are also gut cells present in our heart, so your heart will also give you a lot of indications, right? So there are many ways to really tune into the body. Now, another aspect is we tend to believe, I think, in the space that we've grown, either we've seen people who are takers, who keep taking from somebody, and you feel the relationship is very lopsided. And then there are people who keep giving. And you'd see this everywhere around you. You'll see these people who are, one is just a giver and keeps giving, the other is just a taker. I'm sorry, keeps taking. The right balance of a relationship really, really is in having a cycle of giving and receiving. Now, it does not mean that you attach the giving and the receiving to the same person to whom you gave or you received from. However, the heart to be open to give and to receive. And what do I mean when I say heart is open? Okay, very importantly, what happens is as we going through life, we get hurt. I'm sure all of you got hurt with different events and different things in your life. You felt pain in your heart, not the physical pain, but I mean the emotional pain, which felt too heavy to deal with. What happens with each time something happens? Let's say a friend broke your heart. Let's say a partner did not respect you. What happens is you start to close your heart one day at a time or one event at a time. You start to feel like, okay, this kind of thing happened to me. I will not make, deep, soulful friendships anymore. Or I will not do this for my partner anymore. Or I would not do this for my child anymore. Or whatever. I will not accept something like this from my child anymore. Now, the point is, we start closing our heart. Closing our heart is not going to hurt anybody else but us, because our heart is the biggest channel of love, the unconditional love that we really bond with and who we are. And when we start closing that heart of ours, that beautiful heart of ours, it stops giving us the gifts that we meant to experience in life, all the gifts that we've really, really been bestowed upon by virtue of being in this body and by virtue of being on the planet at this point in time. And we don't realize when our heart is so closed, and we end up becoming the person who we resent in this process. Aspects of us become that person who we really resent. And the idea to not be that person who you're resenting the most is to start opening your heart one day at a time, because the beauty is that anything, wherever we enter with love, you will have a heartbreak, you will have pain, you will have sorrow. There is no way we are getting through this process, or there is no way we getting through this life without pain. So avoiding pain cannot be the way we can navigate our lives. The only way we could do it is sit inside our rooms, lock ourselves up, and never come out of it. Never meet anybody, never talk to anybody, which is not possible, right? So the the uh, the aspect of opening up our hearts is so deeply important. Hurt will happen, pain will happen, things like betrayals or lying, cheating, things will happen. But then if your heart is open, the good things are meant to come, they are ought to come, they will come. There is no other way they're going to go anywhere else. So say if you have 100 experiences, out of which probably 5 might not be right, but 95 will still be right for you, aligned from love. Now, again, coming back to the same point, or whatever you're experiencing, you have to know, like, let's say connection. Are you feeling the connection with yourself? If you're not connected with yourself, you're not going to feel the connection with another. If you don't feel love for yourself, the first step to love is always self-love. If you don't feel love for yourself, you do not appreciate yourself or accept yourself, you would not be able to allow others to accept you. One interesting thing that I've learned in this journey is that a lot of times we are ready to forgive people, but have you allowed yourself to be forgiven? Have you seen how you would talk about yourself? You would say in so many situations that, oh, I can't forgive myself for this. The moment we say that, we're setting ourselves for not being forgiven ever by anybody else. Forget ourselves alone, but anybody else. We've told the universe that I'm such a person who does not need to be forgiven or who cannot be forgiven. So pulling back that power to yourself and saying, yes, I allow myself to be forgiven. And the moment you do that, you start to see how love flows into your life. And again, please do not make it a point that this particular person, this particular thing only has to give me love. Allow the universe to show you love, and universe will show you love in ways that you would not even know. So the same way, belonging. Where are you looking for belonging? Are you constantly going out to belong somewhere? Are you constantly going out to belong to someone? Do you belong to your own body? Do you come back to your own heart and say, I belong to me, or I belong to Creator's love? Right? And Creator, there is somebody who's created this place, right? There is someone who's created all of us, all of nature. We have not created anything in nature. We've not created animals. We've created a lot of technology and all of things, yes, but we've not created nature. Nature has been created by somebody. So when I say energy of love, I say energy of creation. And I mean that creator who's created all of this. You may classify that as God or whichever way that works for you, but then I'm calling creator for our conversation right now. In the same way, when you're looking for community, have you been able to be the community that someone may be seeking? If you are able to offer support, are you able to give yourself support? Are you able to hold yourself together? Are you able to take care of your needs? If you're not able to take care of your needs, there's no way you can take care of anybody else's needs. Because if your needs are unmet, the only way you're going to meet other people's needs is through frustration. But when you want to meet somebody's needs with love, first meet your own needs. And that's how you become community for somebody. When your needs are met by yourself, you will automatically see there'll be people who come support you and come together and make it happen for you. The same way, safety. Now, how much ever we may feel that somebody's attacking us from the outside, the fears are inside of us. That insecurities are inside of us. It's not coming from somewhere else. The sense of not feeling safe is deeply, deeply rooted inside us. So, what do we do to feel safe? For us to feel safe, we could do a lot of grounding activities like walking barefoot in nature, engaging with sun, drinking a lot of water. And every time you drink water, you could charge the water with any thought and every thought that you want to bring into your life. Which probably say, let's take an example. While drinking water, you could just say, I am loved, I am cherished. And that's going to manifest in your body because every grain of food that you consume, or every particle of food you consume, and every particle or drop of water that you consume becomes your body, right? That's how our body exists today. Becomes cells, becomes body, becomes our blood, becomes all of the stuff that's going inside us. So how do we create our body? We create our body by putting those thoughts through the food and water that we're consuming, through the air we are breathing. So we could create safety in our body, saying, okay, I'm in the present, I got this. And also doing another thing is tapping on the heart and just saying, I got this, everything is fine, and I will get through this. Reminding yourself of things that are going to center you in the space that you are in today, because lack of safety is always either in the past or in the future, most commonly. But in the present, we're really safe. If you look around yourself, you can look around yourself and you can just see you're safe right now. But the sense of feeling unsafe is coming from somewhere else. So the idea is to ground and come back to the present. Again, giving and receiving. So are you constantly taking care of others and not honoring your needs? Coming back to the same point, are you giving to yourself enough before you give to another? That is something very, very deeply required to be asked of yourself. Are you giving it to yourself? And these are ways in which you can, once you build this beautiful relationship with yourself, which is whole completely, it's very complete in itself, the need to seek relationships outside of you, need will not be there. It will be a desire, and it'll be an organic movement of relationships coming into your life, and you moving out to the world to get those or experience those relationships in your life. And again, kind of summarizing that space, this is all our acts of self-love. And self-love is the first step to attracting and to creating love in our lives, to creating love in relationships, to creating love in relationships. First person who loves you is you. And the only person who knows to love you the best is only you. And your worst critic is inside of you. So the more you're able to get over your worst critic, the best lover is right inside you, waiting to be unfolded and to be met, really. And once you do that, once you love you, you know what you like, you know what you don't like, you can communicate these to your relationships. And that's how you're able to create those relationships that you're desiring, really. But unless you know what you want, you'll never be able to tell them what is it that will make it a happy experience for you, or a joyful experience for you, or a content experience for you. So I'll take a breath in a moment here. So this is kind of coming from a place that why do we get into relationships, and what do we get from relationships, really. This is kind of what I just spoke about, was all of that. What I would like to move into is to see that what are we doing really today. These are things that we've been built to create relationships from, but what are we really doing today? We're really sitting and doing a lot of things. We are people pleasing for people to stay in our lives that they shouldn't leave, right? A lot of times we do things that we don't want to do. A lot of times we overstep our own needs and meet other people's needs because we feel that if I don't do this, this person will leave my life. What are we doing? We're trying to control. We're trying to control outcome of our relationships. We're trying to control how people see us. There's no way we can change anybody's opinions about ourselves. They will think what they want to think. We cannot change anything, but we're trying to control. I'll dress up this way so they think better for me. I'll wear this perfume so they think this way for me. I'll go in this vehicle so people will think of these. You know, when you're buying anything, just see how many times you think of yourself and how many times you think of the other. Right? The moment you go, like any shopping you're doing, just even probably the grocery for the week, every time you're picking up something for the weekend, and if somebody's visiting you, just think, are you picking this up for yourself, or you're picking it up for someone else? You will know if you are trying to control the outcome of the situation. You're trying to control or please those people who are in your life in one capacity or the other. The other thing that we're doing also is manipulating. What I just described is also one form of manipulation. People pleasing is manipulation itself, because you're not allowing somebody to be authentically present in your life, because you are twisting the you are. So they love the you show them, so they don't get a chance to experience the authentic you, which means when that happens and they don't see you, then you feel betrayed. Why? Because they never saw you at the first place. The one they like is an image. The one they like is a facade. They don't like who you are, precisely because you created that in the first place. Right? So the point at the end of the day is, be who you are. Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. And if they can love you for it, then they are always going to be there for you. And when I say always, always has a duration. It's not like always, it's always has a duration. But then consider that always till the time they were there for you. But what I mean to say is, when someone loves you for who you are in your pajamas, in your worst space, when you're crying, when you're in a bad state, and when they can stand true to you and you're not making efforts to please them in particular, with a stack of laundry inside your rooms, where somebody comes and you're not trying to clean that up, not trying to hide it away in the wardrobes and stuff, right? So those kind of places, if you're not doing that and it's still loving you, then that's a very authentic relationship, because they love you, for your heart. They don't love you for what you show them, because you're not showing them anything. You're just being you, right? The same way we're playing games, right? We all do this. If I do this, this person will do this, and then this will happen, and then that will happen. We're playing games, right? And each of us have done this. There's not about good person, bad person. Each of us have done this, and I'm sure we've learned our lessons from it. And we've also learned that it's not helping. It does not help. It feels in the moment it helps, but it really does not help. Calculating in terms of, we really become a lot of times, sometimes say money minded, sometimes say situation minded. We're really calculating a lot of stuff around people. This person did this person did that. If they did this, then I did that. I will, in responses. But an authentic person would not be running with that parameter. They would run by who and what I am looking to be, and I will continue to be that person. Then judging judging people for everything, for their life choices, for their dressing choices, for their food choices, for their habits, day-to-day habits, for their holiday choices. And when we are judging, it's also a reflection of what we are missing inside of us, and we are judging that part, right? So again, this is also equally a mirror. Whatever we're doing here is equally a mirror to inside relationship that we have with ourselves. We're comparing, we're competing. We like, they have such a big TV, they have a bigger car, I should have a bigger car. They have a bigger house, I should have a bigger house than them. So what we are really doing, we're competing, comparing, and comparing many things, comparing clothes, comparing stuff, whatever, where have the children gone to study or stuff like that, and what the children are studying and what they're doing, who they're married to, blah 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 blah. But in all of this process, what's happened is we've lost authenticity. And the only way relationships can be lived is through authenticity. Only and only way they can be lived is through authenticity. But all of this stuff that we are doing with our minds, now do you see, when we are doing our relationships authentically, they are happening through the heart and through the body. But the moment we are trying to pretend, we're trying to create a relationship by our own tactics and mechanisms, it goes into the mind straight off. We've already disconnected from the heart and the body. We're not operating from love. We're operating from everything else but love. Yeah, I think largely, yes. And how is this a reflection? Yes, that's important. How is this a reflection of how do you feel inside of yourself? Now, if you feel any less, if you feel you're not good enough, if you feel that you're not worthy, if you feel worthy could be of anything, of love, of money, of anything at all, of any relationship for that matter, and if you feel you're less than somebody, so in all such situations you would do all these mechanisms with yourself. You will control certain things that, say, let's say, you want to portray or feel an image that you eat healthy, okay, to somebody, and most commonly you don't do that when you're with yourself. But then when each time when you are going to eat, you will have a lot of shame that you'll put on yourself. Each time you go out towards food, there will be shame. Now, what is happening? Each time you put shame on your own self, saying, okay, I'm saying this, but I'm doing this. In all of these situations, there will be this whole idea of controlling, manipulating, playing games with yourself. All of this is going to happen on an everyday basis. So, anything and everything that you do with the mind in the relationships is happening right inside of you with your own relationship. So, time to think as to how am I playing with my own self? How am I really not being authentic with my relationship with myself? And the moment you're authentic with the relationship that you have with yourself, you'll automatically start being authentic with others in the relationship. Yep. I'll again just take a sip of water. I have a question here. I can address that right now or at the end.
You can address it now if you want.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. So when you forgive others, you heal, and when you forgive yourself, you're liberated. Yeah, absolutely. It's not a question, actually. It's just somebody shared. All right. So yeah. And forgiveness is it's I think one more thing that I strongly feel is sometimes we force ourselves to forgive. We don't have to force ourselves to forgive. We really have to take our organic time that it feels right to reach that point of forgiveness. Because forgiveness is amazing, but until the pain has been processed, it will not take its effect. And the pain needs to get processed. The pain needs to move through its own, the pain will have its own journey. And that journey needs to be completed, very importantly. Yeah, and if we're trying to forgive earlier, we will know we're not be authentic to our own emotions around this relationship or that person, or even for ourselves for that matter. Right. So I think that's that. Yeah, and just a reminder, I believe, in terms of what do we really need to do in our relationships, and how do we really navigate those relationships that we have in our life. See, there are relationships that we would say are inner circle. There are relationships we would say they're outer circle, and then there is a periphery which is beyond outer circle, and you're showing up as different people in front of different people. But then the day you become authentic to your own self, the need to have different versions of you will automatically go away. It'll be the same person walking these three layers of inner circle, outer circle, and the peripheries. But the point is, have you discovered who you are at the first place? Have you moved into that space of understanding what is your relationship with yourself? Is your negative chatter taking over the positive person who you are? Is your inner critic bigger than your inner lover? right? Or your inner lover bigger than the inner critic. And every time the inner critic comes up, what is the language? What is it saying? Oh, you're a piece of shit, or you're just crap, you were not good enough, you don't deserve this, you should not be there, this person cannot love you, how can they even love you? Stuff like that. And are you allowing abuse in any way to come into your life through these relationships? Abuse again could look like very different. It doesn't have to be just physical. It can look like emotional abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse, spiritual abuse. It can look like relational abuse. So a lot of such things, some relationships that you're attached to by virtue of legal, or by virtue of family you're born in, they may be toxic relationships, but then you're relationally getting abused just because the relationships are meant to be in your life by virtue of however they came into your life. But then that's a time to take stock. Is this right for me? Is this healthy for me? Is this helping me grow? Because the only narrative that you would have to understand if a relationship is good for you or not is to know that are you becoming a better person in that relationship by being in it, not by making efforts in it. Just by being in it, are you being a better person, and are they being a better person by you being in their life? Very important to remember that if it's a mutual growth. And that's why relationships are the most difficult part for us to navigate, because they are the biggest teachers. We are here spiritually, the biggest teachers that we have. And most commonly you'll see that most of your day, time, heart space, mind space would be invested into relationships. You wouldn't be thinking of money so much, you wouldn't be thinking of environment so much, you wouldn't be thinking of your health also so much as much you think about relationships around yourself. So what do we really need to do in our relationships today? I think first thing, please be authentic. Please be authentic. It's so important to be authentic. And what do I mean when I say authentic? So let's say you have an invitation to a function and you're not feeling up to it. So do you force yourself and go to a function, or do you sit back and tell this person that I really want to do this, but I'm not able to show up, and honor what your body's needs are at that point in time? So the authentic version would be to honor yourself. Being authentic is to honor your own journey, is to honor who you are, is to honor what your needs are, is to honor what your heart is calling for, irrespective of what somebody may think of you, because what they think of you is not about you. What they think of you is a projection from what their own personal journey is, right? It is not a projection on, it is not a conclusion on you, it's a projection from their life journey, their current life state, their current mental state, their current emotional state. Now, coming back to the same point, very importantly in relationships, what is important is anything that is in our life from love, the first step to that is acceptance. Completely acceptance. The first step to that is acceptance. Anybody's life journey, if you're looking for a relationship with anybody for that matter, your children, your spouse, your siblings, your parents, friends, co-workers, whatever, the first step is acceptance. The moment you're able to accept them for who they are, automatically love will seep in. You don't have to make special efforts for love to come in then. Acceptance is the first step to love. And the moment you accept, you will start to see forgiveness also starts to come in. One step at a time, forgiveness also makes its way. But if you're trying to forgive before accepting, it probably may not reach where acceptance before forgiveness will come through. And it may feel very tricky as I'm saying this, but when you start to really see, when you accept someone, okay, this is how they are, this is it, period, done, you will start to see forgiveness will come in easily, slowly, and with much more gentleness and calmness. And the moment you are able to accept and forgive, it's already love. You don't have to sit and create love there, it already is love. The other thing is support. Is important, relationships, that there is a, you'll always see that in everything there is an exchange. It may not be a monetary exchange, it's an energetic exchange. Again, money is energy, and money is also an energetic exchange for that matter. Everything has an exchange. When like in any relationship for that matter, I'm just trying to think of an example, not getting one right now, but everything is an exchange. So every relationship, there's an energetic exchange. Please make sure that there is an exchange that is happening instead of one person constantly taking or one person constantly giving. If it is like that, it'll be a lopsided thing. You would rather want it to be a balanced equation, not in this way or not in this way in any way, right? And then have boundaries. Very important. We're not taught boundaries ever. We're always taught to keep compromising. The word compromise is so big in our culture. Okay. Yeah. The word compromise is so big.
Kindly mute someone who's talking. Swati, kindly. Yes, you may carry on.
Thank you. All right, boundaries. Now, like we spoke about, honoring yourself, not going to that event wherever you were invited. Boundaries are a very important thing to execute in relationships. We are mostly sold the concept of compromises in relationships. Compromise comes from really cutting down your needs and cutting down what your personal space is. Whereas a surrender, I mean, again, these words are very used in a very, very different way, but where I'm coming from is specifically from the space of love. When we love, we surrender. I mean, this is how you would see with anybody who you consider in the space of creator or God for yourself. There are a lot of times you would go surrender to them because that's the only way you're able to receive love at that point in time. And that's exactly what it is. When situations arise, it's so important to build boundaries from a true surrender towards love. When you are not feeling fine, so if somebody is, let's say you've had your full share of meal and somebody says, please eat it for me, please eat for me, please eat for me, what you're doing is you're sacrificing your body at that time. You're not honoring your body. And the moment you do that, you're already brought down the vibration of yourself and you brought down the vibration of that relationship, because eventually there will be a point of resentment that will come into you if this continues to go on and on and on. Right? So what happens is you already set up a situation where the person takes it for granted that if I ask them to eat more, they will eat more. And then you know that when they ask you to do that, you will be in a point of resentment. And over a period of time, you've gone out of love already. Like you've set yourself up to go out of love in that specific relationship and towards that person. Same way, there could be many examples in that way, but just taking one and going with it. So the idea remains, please have healthy boundaries based on what feels right to you. How will you know what feels right to you? Is through your heart again, and through your body. You will have a very nudging feeling. All of us have intuition, all of us have gut feelings. We all know what that is. We've had situations where we did not know where and how some sound or some kind of feeling from inside of us came, and we followed it and we were grateful that we followed it. So you know what that is already. And then relationships are not just based on love. It's love is what we need is just the movie kind of media kind of stuff. We need a lot more things than just love in a relationship. You could love somebody and not want to be with them, so we also need respect. We need trust, very importantly. No relationships can thrive if there's no respect, right? There is also no relationship that can thrive if there's no trust. Yeah, these are three aspects that are very, very important. There's love, respect, and trust, which is very, very important. If you look at the dearest relationship you have today with somebody, you would see that these are present. And the relationships that are feeling a little faltery, these would not be present, or some kind of combination of them would not be present. Again, moving into the same space, that when you are in a relationship, while it's good to be giving, it's also needed to be receiving. You can't be the only person who's giving. Please learn to receive. It's very important for us to receive as well, because, and the beauty is, in giving and receiving is how we complete the cycle of love. Only giving is again coming from a lot of lower frequency of sacrifice. In only receiving is coming from a lot of lower frequency of kind of manipulating and taking away. But when you are in the space of giving and receiving and there is a balance, you will know in your heart. You will know in your heart when there is a balance. It will not be something, it will not be bothering you. There will be a certain sense of contentment, complete peace and contentment, and that's how you will know there is a balance here. And your body will be calling for more. That's what you need to the body is so important. Another thing is that there are a lot of people that we meet in our journey of life, and on an average, from what I understand from studies, is that 80 to 100 people make it to our inner and outer circles throughout our lifetime. Now, those 80 to 100 people are not necessarily there today in your life. Some may have come gone. Some may still have to come, and they may go, or they may stay, again dependent on situations. In this process, you will need to let go of people, some because they are not healthy for you, some because their time to be in your life is gone or over. That's how much time they had come into your life for. So letting go is a very, very important aspect of relationships. I think forgiveness calls for a lot of letting go. At the same time, when you have to let people leave your life, or you have to leave somebody's life when it calls out for, letting go is a very important aspect of relationships. And I think on a practical perspective, honoring relationships, what is this one thing that is non-renewable, completely non-renewable, in our lives? Money can be, if it's spent, it can be re-earned. Any kind of material items, if they are there, they can be rebuilt. Any kind of energetic investments can also be recreated, or transmuted. What is one non-renewable resource that we cannot ever go back and recreate is our time. It's our time. So our relationships deserve our time. They deserve our time, and we must is not the word really, but we need to figure out ways to give time to our relationships that we hold closely, dearly. And time does not mean that we have to spend hours and hours. If you spent a note to somebody saying thinking of you and sending you love, is good enough. You spend that time to even just say that to them. A lot of times we think about people and we don't say anything to them. A lot of times we somebody's thinking of us and doesn't tell it to us, doesn't tell us. And imagine if you had a text that you just got, you were not feeling too good, and you just receive a text from somebody saying, I'm thinking of you, and whatever else they want to say with it, it'll make you feel so much better. You will just feel, wow, somebody's there in my life, right? So why wouldn't you want to do that for somebody? It will be beautiful to just make somebody experience that little moment. And usually, we don't know how long we are here on this planet, how much ever we may believe that we have a lot of time. Our life is generally very short. We are just here for an average of 75, 80 years. Lifespans are changing. So 80 years we are here. 80 years is 80 summers, 80 winters. When you start to look at it like that, of which a lot of them is gone in your early years, which is behind you, and then there are just so many ahead of you. And when you think about it like that, you would just start to really reinvest in your relationships, because the investment that you can make, the greatest investment you can make in any relationship is time. That's the only non-renewable resource, and that's the resource that people remember with memories, and the people kind of remember the time spent together, or even those little texts, little gestures and stuff like that. So and if you again see these acts that you would make in your relationships are not coming from the mind, clearly not coming from the mind. They're always going to be, always going to be that prompt in the heart, that little nudge in the heart. It'll tell you to do that just do this right now. Do it at that time. Even if you're in the most important meeting of your life, take a moment and just do it at that time. Right? Because what happens is the people we love the most, we take them the most. Sorry, I'm not making the right sentence right now. The people we love the most, we take them for granted the most also. The calls, the people we live with, the people who are closely associated with us, we tend to disconnect their calls, we tend to miss their calls, we tend to not respond to their texts, we tend to not spend enough time with them. We're constantly looking out and going out and trying to find other people to engage with. But really see at the end of life, who would be the people you would want around you. Invest in them today. And I'm not trying to scare anybody to go towards the end of life. All I'm trying to say is that when you're sitting there at that point in time, thinking about your life, going back, all you would need is those few people who love you dearly and who you love dearly, and wanting to have them around you. And then the world wouldn't be, everybody else in your periphery definitely wouldn't be needed. It's just going to be your inner circle, quite literally. And there's this book that a nurse has written. She's written based on, I think, hundreds of patients that she has seen. She used to work in geriatric care, and she has written a book from her experiences of all these older people who she saw passing. And every time she would interact with them, and she writes in her book that the only thing that they talk about is that I wished I had lived more and I had loved more. And we forget to live and we forget to love. And that's the only way we can experience a relationship with our own self. And that's the only way we could experience relationship with others. And as much the relationship with Creator, it's a beautiful world we've been given. It's a beautiful body we've been given. We are busy shaming our bodies. We are busy judging our bodies. We are busy judging everything around us. But when you look for beauty, you'll only find beauty. And I'm not trying to say that the world doesn't have dualism. The world doesn't have the darkness or the light. The world has everything. But what we focus is what we bring into our lives. When we look at the light, we'll bring the light. When we look at the darkness, we'll bring the darkness. What do you want to bring into your life? It's something that you get to decide, of course. And we tend to blame Creator or God so many times for our problems, for our situations. But the point is, have we been focused on darkness and has darkness manifested into our life? Yes. Have we been focused on light and has light manifested into our life? Yes. So Creator is only going to say Tatha Astu to whatever you desire. And you wouldn't know what you desire, because if you're constantly thinking about something, that is what you desire. That's how you would know what you desire, is what you're thinking about the most. So Creator is only going to say Tatha Astu. Creator or God, whoever you see in the space of the creation, is not going to change and alter with your free will. Your free will stands true for them, and that's why we've been given the free will to choose whatever we want, which means that anything not so pleasant that we are going through right now has also been our own creation. And Creator said Tatha Astu to that. And what is Tatha Astu? Your wish is granted. Right? So each of your wishes granted. If you constantly say I'll get cancer, the wish will be granted. But is it what you really wish? But you're talking about it so much that eventually it will come into the body. So what's happening with the relationship in your body? What's happening with the relationship with your own body? You're calling for darkness to come and take over the light that you are. So what do? We change the narrative. My body is healthy. My body is healthy. And what does Creator do? Creator says, Tatha Astu. And you will have it. Your wish is granted. So your wish is just granted every single time. It does not matter what you're wishing for. There's nobody sitting there and saying, oh, this is a bad wish, this is a good wish. Let's fulfill the good ones and leave the bad ones. No, all wishes are granted, and you will only know what your wish is by seeing what you're thinking the most. And our relationships are literally a reflection of that. Constantly a reflection of that. If you're thinking that you'll be abandoned, you'll be left alone, you will be. And I'm sorry, I'm not saying this in the space of any judgment or conclusion. I'm just reminding you that what we think about is what we create. If you constantly keep thinking that this XYZ person will leave me, they will. Because you're creating that. And that's how relationships get created. The more we think, the negativity that we think with is the negativity we create, or the positivity we think with is the positivity we create. And that's a choice we get to make together with the Creator. So you're very much creating our relationships on the go, each moment at a time. Yeah, I think I'm kind of done with it, but I would just say, I think I would like to conclude it in this way, that we are love, we are born from love, all relationships exist from love. We forget that, and that's the truth we need to really remember, that our center of everything is love. And I have some comments to check on. 1 second. Yeah, energy exchange, of course. Yeah, energy exchange can not just be in love, it can be money and time too. Yes, of course, yes, absolutely, yes. So when I said money, I said it was also energy. It's just different forms of energies. And relationship navigate. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, all three words are very much interrelated. Mindfully steer, less the ship of relation. Sing back that Dani very much. There's no other. There's no I. Overcome the ego and divinity resides in all. Yeah. Yeah, there is actually, if you see, so when we say there's no other, it's like this. When there is a little stone you throw into a lake or any water body, you see the ripples go out. And we feel that it has ended. When the ripples kind of end, we feel the space has ended. But those ripples have traveled in time and impacted every single thing on the planet. Each of your thought contribute to everything happening on the planet. Each and every feeling of yours contribute, each and every action of yours contributes to everything happening on the planet. So when you feel things are not going right, probably there's time to go inwards and also see, where am I creating this? And I don't mean it in the sense of blame or shame in any way. I just mean it in the sense of personal responsibility towards yourself and the planet. And at the same time, there is something called oneness. What one does impacts the other. Irrespective, you may be related to them and you may not be related to them. Right? Whatever's going on in the world today, we're not directly impacted, but we're impacted. We are impacted by every single thing that's happening everywhere, and to the capacity of each person. Each person, not, I mean, imagine the billions of people that are there on the planet. Each of them are impacting each other in a crisscross way. So imagine if all of these crisscrosses were not conflicts, and they were love, and they were grace, and they were compassion. It would be a different world altogether. We wouldn't be seeing the events that we are seeing today. So each of us are contributing in one way or the other to some kind of stuff that is going on in the world. How do we take personal responsibility of that space? Yeah. So yeah, there's another. Yeah, I think I would assume I will address that. Please let me know if I have or I have not, with the divinity, and there's no I ego. Ego comes when we are blaming and shaming ourselves. So ego is always no, the interesting point with ego is always resides below the line of dignity. Always. You will always see ego wants to shame you, or ego wants to shame the other. Any which way, there will be some kind of frequency below the line of dignity. Always know when you're operating from above the line of dignity, you're operating from love. Always. Anytime above the line of dignity, you're operating from love. So always know that when you are moving towards yourself or towards anybody else, please move above the line of dignity. And I'm sure you all understand what's dignity. Like, and line of dignity is just compassion, love, and space like that, where you are being kind. Kindness. That's just it. Yeah, and I think the exchange, this thing is time. So in other words, what we create is what we get in life. Absolutely. Why some people are in fear constantly? There can be many reasons why people are in fear. They're not able to step. The first important reason is they're not able to step into their, drop into their hearts. We always say go down, right? Go down means go down from your mind to your heart. Now, what happens is our minds were created as a survival. We have a lot of survival instincts in our mind. When we were coming from these hunter-gatherer spaces, which are our ancestors, and we're carrying their cells, we're carrying their memories, we are carrying their survival instincts. They had to survive. They were surviving under very threatening conditions. They were living in jungles. They were fear of wild animals. They were also fear of not finding food. There was also fear of being killed for other reasons. There were diseases, a lot of such things. So for them, living itself, just breathing itself was a concern. We do not live with those kind of situations at this point in time with the given circumstances. For most of us, so what happens in that case is that a lot of people are still in their minds from their primal fears, from their ancestral fears, or from the fears that we collect from the society. And they have not stepped into their heart. Now, why heart? Heart, what's special about the heart? Heart is the first organ that gets created and the last organ that goes from this body. Scientifically, that's also true. When you look at a scan of a pregnant woman, you would see a heart, only heart, before the body is created. And the same way, when the body is dead, the heart still remains. There are a few hours until the heart can go on. So heart is the only organ that is so courageous to exist even without a body. So heart is the most courageous organ that we have in the body, which means that heart is actually giving us the most courageous, fearless ways to move forward with in any situation, small to big. But when we caught up in our mind, in the mental drama, in the monkey mind and stuff like that, we are in constant state of fear. And that is coming from somewhere in the past. That is coming from some past experiences. That is coming from past genetic experiences. That is coming from collective consciousness experiences. And it needs a lot of conscious effort to keep dropping back into our heart at every given point in time. Fear is a constant. Fear is trying to protect us. Fear is good. It's just that we need to step beyond it. Like, if you have a hurdle race, you can't win the race unless you cross the hurdle. It's just exactly that. Fear is exactly that. Fear is teaching you to step into courage. The next emotion after fear is always courage, and then there is love. So first step is always fear. And then you overcome that fear, get into courage, and move towards love. Yeah. So why are they in the fear is their personal stories, or from wherever they are coming. And they're choosing not to step into courage. I think, general level, they're choosing not to really drop into their hearts. They're choosing not to take the life um, of courage. Like a simple example would be a lot of women are living in domestic violence situations. And you ask them to step out of that situation, they would say, I don't want to. And a lot of women will also say, he loves me, and so he's doing this to me. But that's not true. But their fear of how will they survive outside of the situation, they don't know what a life outside of the situation is a fear that is causing them to stay in those situations still. Now, that does not mean they don't have options. They have options, but they're not able to access those options. There are always options. There are always options. Yeah, I mean, somebody in a dire situation may be feeling no, it's not the case, but there is. We get blinded by the fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meera, you want to ask a question? Go ahead.
Yeah. No, is it also because of the societal fears? Because as you said, there's a lot of people who are battered, but then they go on, continue to live in that relationship. Maybe it's, as you said, it's the fear of getting out and then surviving in this world alone. And it's maybe because of our, society, because we are all protected and then brought up, unlike other countries where, you're kind of liberated. Now it's happening, although, the younger generation is still doing it. So perhaps that, maybe that fear.
Fear, yes, fear is multidimensional in that situation from where I see it again. One is that person's own fear and how to survive, how to go around life if this situation was not there. Probably they do not have a supportive family or system outside of wherever they are in right now. Or they're not financially secure in that way, or they don't know. And a lot of situations when I come across women who are dealing with abuse is also they're not educated enough to figure out what will they do with their lives.
Yeah.
But I would still say there are options. I would still re-emphasize there are options. The point is we need to at some point in time get over that step and say fear will be present. See, fear is there when you're living with the abuser. Fear is there when you're not living with the abuser. Fear is there when you're doing a job. Fear is there when you're not doing a job. Fear is there when you're earning money. Fear is there when you're not earning money. Fear is there when you're alone sitting in your room. Fear is there when you're not alone and you're amongst people. There will be fear all the time. The job as in the task is to get over that and take one step of courage, one tiny step of courage. It could be very tiny and the rest will follow. And another interesting thing that I can vouch from my life, quite frankly, is that I never knew what the next step was, quite frankly. I took the first step that was available to me because the charting the whole life out was not happening. It's not possible. We couldn't be doing that. But in situations when we are in a dire, difficult situation, I've only seen what's the next step ahead of me. I just took that little tiny step, and the rest of them kept unfolding one after another after another. And it has helped me greatly to kind of move through in every process, and also help my son do that. Every time he's stuck, I kind of support him in finding the next step, and the rest of the steps show up for themselves. But creator, the energy of creation or the god or creator wants us with our free will to show that courage so the next steps can be shown to you. Very important, because free will, we've been given free will for a purpose. There's a great purpose in taking a personal responsibility. Personal responsibility will come with courage, only come with courage. It has to be beyond fear. And again, people will judge. Till the time you're not paying your bills, they're not putting food on the table, they're not putting clothes on your body, they're not putting shelter on your head, they have no business talking about you. And even if they're talking, then they can talk.
True. I don't think even when they talk, they have no business to talk.
Okay, they will talk. See, and a lot of times it's helpful to say that I have given them work to do. They didn't have any work if I didn't give them this, right? So you might as well be grateful that I did something interesting in my life which helped them get over whatever, like pass their time that they were able to do right now, which also helps to kind of pacify, because we can't keep thinking about people. We just can't. Like we've been programmed to. As children, we've been brought up saying uncle, auntie will say this. Some person will say that, some person will say that, but I think at this point in time, I would just say that it does not matter, frankly. I walked out of an abusive marriage and I stay right now with my children. I think you can hear some of them right now. My dogs are barking, but nothing is more important than your own personal, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial health.
That makes two of us, Divya.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that nothing is more important than your personal well-being in every sphere of your life. Nothing. People will talk if you stay in that abusive marriage. People will talk if you've left it. People will talk if you're in the worst of situations. People will talk in the best of situations. They will talk. There's nothing we can do for them to not talk, and we don't have to do it actually.
But in the end, they'll say you're great. That's what they say now.
Yes, totally. Totally. I know. I think, and the people who've not supported you on the journey will still come up and say that, but that's okay. That was a choice they made. You still made one.
I agree with you totally, Divya. There. Hi, this is Umapa here. I know for me also, like you having gotten out of the matrimonial bonding, as I call it now. I mean, I'm me, recognize that I'm me. Okay, I'm married, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm everything, aunt, uncle, whatever. But at the end of it, I want to be me, right?
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to change me, And I've changed. I changed for the better. I know that. Having gone out of the marriage bond, I know I've changed for the better. I know that. Because otherwise, that hatred and that suspicion, that jealousy, whatever went, all the negativity is gone.
And it's only eating us up in the process.
You are of ourselves, and I know that I can make it. Like sort of that confidence, it builds up the confidence, right? So
It does. It does, absolutely.
Come far.
One act of love, one act of grace, one act of kindness to yourself, and you'll know the magic it brings.
Yes. Thank you. It was lovely to see you glowing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay. Anyone else would like to ask a question? Kindly ask your questions because it's easier than putting them on the chat. But thank you so much, Divya, for answering all that was on the chat.
Thank you.
Okay. And is there anyone who has any question, any comment, anything? No?
I have a question, Sajani.
Go ahead, Ramesh. Go ahead and ask your questions.
Right. Yeah, Ms. Divya, it was very nice. Your talk was really very down to earth. Now, a couple of questions spring to my mind. One is, how does one abuse oneself spiritually? I just want to know your perspective on that.
You heard of the word spirit, right?
Yes.
And when we call something like sportsman spirit and stuff, because spirituality is not something that we get into. We are born spiritual. We have spirits inside of us. And those spirits, you can see the best in children, because children access their spirit. They want to play, they play. They want to have fun, they do that. They want to draw, they draw. They do what their spirit is calling them to do. How we kind of abuse or really suppress our spirit is not following the nudges we have inside of us. We wanted to be these are bigger things that I'm saying, that we wanted to be a musician and ended up being an engineer because the parents wanted, and then did not want to marry A person and married B person because parents wanted or society wanted, and that's how it served the society. But then these are bigger. They could be smaller acts. Let's say you're being called to dance and somebody judges you because you want to dance and you're not dancing, then you're not exploring your spirit and you're suppressing your spirit, and that's a form of abuse. So spirit will talk through us. Spirit will always at any given point of time, spirit will call out from inside of us to do what we are or what we need in the moment or what we are here for. Like time and again, my spirit calls me to go help animals because I feel my life purpose is to help children and animals in bigger ways. So every time when I see an animal in pain, and every time when I say, okay, no, right now I need to do something else, I am not listening to my spirit. And I'm not tuning into the message of my spirit. And eventually what happens is when we become this caught up in the mind kind of person and not listen to our spirit is channeled through our heart, right? So if we don't listen to that, it stops talking to us, or it silences to a point where we can't hear it anymore. Or when we are, another way to abuse is by substances, by drugs, or by liquor, by smoking, or engaging in excessive sexual activities, or engaging in gaming, or any kind of
Obsessive behavior.
sorry,
Obsessive behavior.
any kind, yeah, even binge watching, binge eating. So we are always doing these kind of things on a day-to-day basis, and the more we are able to check our little tiny acts through the day, tiny decisions that we make, like I'll give you an example. I would whenever I would feel lonely, I would walk to the fridge to have a chocolate. Okay, and then I realized that I was not listening to my spirit to not have it, because I was trying to fill love with something external, which love is internal. I had to figure it inside, but I was trying to run for something outside. So I had made a rule that I would stand outside the fridge, not open it, ask myself, what do you want, Divya, right now? And immediately a sound from inside of me would say, I need a hug right now. I need love right now. And that would take away my need to have a chocolate. So I would be killing my spirit by eating a chocolate at that time, because my spirit didn't need a chocolate. My spirit that time needed either a person's touch, or even my own touch, just hugging myself and saying, okay, I love you, I'm here for you, I'm not going anywhere. Or something like I needed to do some other act at that point in time. So we constantly channeling. It's a matter of tuning in, it's a matter of listening, and then the voice automatically becomes bigger. Abuse is not listening. It's just as much, imagine another person standing next to you and they're constantly telling you something and you just try to never listen to them. That's already abusive, emotionally, mentally. Yeah.
I got that. And one more thing I wanted to ask you. I don't know. I mean, perhaps I'm playing the devil's advocate. I never normally do that, but by asking you this question, because this is a question I've asked myself many times as well. Being a person who was, as a child, was very shy, very much an introvert. I now, as a seeker, I know that we're all interconnected. In fact, probably we're all a part of each other in some way. If you look at the Atma as being a part of the Paramatma, so we're little drops of that divine. So I had this question where, every time we do certain things to strengthen the lower identity, like me as Ramesh in this life, as a soul, I'm not Ramesh, but I know it's theoretical to say this. But every time we say that we need, that space for ourselves, there is also a risk that sometimes we might focus a bit too much on just ourselves instead of balancing it out with the other. And could it be a way out if we just step away from the situation? I'm just thinking aloud, because I myself have had these thoughts many times that I must move away from these toxic relationships. But I need to also balance it with how much stronger and better a person can I be while I'm doing it? As in, like, I also consider the other person's perspective and then step away if still nothing seems to work, or go through with it and have a breakthrough in that relationship. So if we just say that I'd like I'd like to kind of protect myself and move away from that, will we also be losing the opportunity to grow and complete that karma? Is that a good thing to do? Would it mean that we'll start becoming more self-centered if we do that? These are questions that come up. So how would you address these questions?
Okay. I think I kind of hear you in 2-3 parts. So I'll go one by one. One is, if you have any relationships that are toxic to you in your life, I'll begin with that, because then you come back to yourself. They're a mirror of something that is unhealthy inside of you towards yourself, which may have got developed as a child or while growing up by caregivers, primary caregivers, or by teachers, or by any kind of influence that you may have had. Yes, any kind of influence you may have had in your early childhood years. Now, most commonly, our primary caregiver's voice is our critic voice. If you had a critical primary caregiver, If we had a critical primary caregiver, then our critic's voice is their voice. And if we had a very loving primary caregiver, our loving voice is that voice. Right? So it's very important to first discern who's talking inside of me. When you are in a toxic situation, a lot of times what we perceive as toxic is also not toxic, because in the moment we are feeling something unhealthy. And another thing, that the toxic person is also a reflection of your inner toxicity, which is your own inner critic. So very important to look at the mirror. Of course, if the person is not right for you, let them go. That's the first step before anything else. Parallel step would be to look at where is this mirroring you internally. What is it teaching you about your own self? So let's say if somebody, let's say somebody comes and tells me, I'm 4'11" by height. So somebody used to come and tell me earlier you're short. I was like, oh, I was to get very angry, okay? But today somebody comes and tells me you're short. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I find it to be a gift. I feel I get mixed on the kids and stuff like that. I mean, I pass it as a joke these days. But the gun is not with, the gun is with them, but the bullet is inside us. And it can only be fired when we are loaded. You get what I'm trying to say? It's the only way we can get fired is when we are loaded. So which means what they are saying is a mirror of something that's happening inside of us, that is alive inside us, right? Now you could tell me, Divya, you did a shitty job here completely. I mean, you talking crap. I wouldn't be bothered. Why? Because I'm very confident about what I'm speaking here or what I bring here to the conversation. But if I am not sure about what I'm bringing here, I will like, oh my God, I knew it. I knew it inside of me. I was not doing well. And I will be triggered and charged. So this very important to reflect on the fact that, very important to reflect on the fact that the bullet is inside you. Even if they have the gun, the bullet is still inside you, and any kind of firing is happening inside you. And that person is just a mirror and reflection of the firing that's going on inside you. So from the space of toxicity, yes, please let them go, very importantly, and evaluate where you are at in that space and what is the relationship, what has it come to teach you. One other aspect when I hear you is about your personal identity in the current body and life that you are living, right? If that's what I correctly understand. Our dreams or our goals are given to us because that is God's work or Creator's work we are doing here. They're not given to us just like that. They would be a dream that you just cannot get off. You cannot get off. You try, you go every place, you try and do every possible meditation, you try and do every possible program, you come back to this dream and you're like, no, I want this dream to happen. It may feel like you are egoistic, it may feel like you are obsessed with it, but that's not the case. It is a gift from Creator coming down to you because this is Creator's work that you want to do here through your dream. Now, a lot of times we feel that only the spiritual work is the gift work that we are doing. Like if I am teaching meditation, it's a gift, but it's not true. Even if you're going to go sell a soap, you are giving a gift to humanity. Of course, do not cheat people in the process. Yes, that's a given. But at the same time, if you are doing anything that's for the greater good of humanity, you are adding a gift that the Creator or the God or the energy of creation intended to manifest through you. So your dreams are your gift from God. Your dreams are, is being channeled through, the Creator is channeling through you. You doing their work, like God's work, really here, just doing God's work. That's it. So when you feel it's selfish, it's really not. Your dream is not given to you to be selfish. If somebody has a great dream to become a pilot, there is a reason why they are supposed to be a pilot, or they are really feeling the calling for being a pilot. I was into marketing before I became a spiritual teacher. I would have not guessed this ever at all. Like I was this rowdy girl. Never guessed it. But this is a calling. It came through. Since childhood, I was very intuitive. I used to predict future. I used to wonder what kind of ghostly stuff is this. But as I grew and as things happened in life, did I realize this is my gift and I'm here to share that gift. Now I'm not afraid of it. But there was a time when I used to be very scared of this. And I used to feel, I don't know what kind of, hey, this kind of thing is this. So that's that part, I would say. And the third part, when you were saying about that between the Paramatma and the Atma, yes, we are part of the greater one. And we are all particles of kind of the greater Atma, the Paramatma and the Atmas are all put together. So anything that you're doing, you'll have a reflection on everything. And if it's coming from light, I think the only discernment that's very important is there is darkness and there is light, and we all have that. Each of us have darkness, each of us have light. The journey is to conquer the darkness with light. That's just the journey we are all on. You may have thoughts of killing someone, but how well are you able to navigate that and not kill them, and yet kill the devil inside of you, which rose in the process, is the journey there is. Now, I think till the time you are doing it from light, you're doing it from love, it's going to be part of the greater good. And if it's in any way thoughts to harm somebody, to take advantage of somebody, to manipulate someone, or anybody else for that matter, anything, then there is again aspects of your own personal darkness within yourself which is coming through. Right? If I become an engineer to please my parents and I wanted to be a singer, then you've manipulated your own personal identity in order to please the parents. And that's where you now have lost authenticity. And when I say you, please don't take it personally. I'm just using an example, right? Yeah, so you've lost authenticity. And when you lost that authenticity, there is no way you can honor somebody else's authenticity. You cannot. What you've not given to yourself, you cannot give to another person. I can only offer you water because I have water. You ask me to give you juice in place of this, I don't have it. Where will I give it to you from?
I think it's very interesting what you said, Divya, because I have in my own family, it's okay, I hope it's okay to share, my son-in-law wanted to be a veterinarian, and by force he became, an engineer, like a software. And he resents that till today, and he resents his parents for not allowing him to become what he, I guess, as you said, he doesn't recognize anyone's authenticity, maybe because of that.
Because he's not able to honor his own, right?
Yes.
Like till I lived with my marriage, I lived to only please my mother. I didn't want to be in that marriage. I lived there because I didn't want, my mom said some things and I thought, okay, I cannot leave this marriage because my mom probably will die and things like that. And there came a time when I was like, okay, right now I do not care. I have to get out of this relationship.
Yeah.
And I missed that relationship. But my mom is still as alive as she could be. But I'm trying to I'm just trying to say that I've lived decades with that fear that if I did this, I would dishonor my mom. But I was not standing honestly, truthfully, authentically to my own need, to my own desire, to my own God talking through me kind of situation. And when I did, we all flourished. I was holding up my ex-husband. I was holding up my child. I was holding up, taking out this resentment and revenge kind of energy on everybody. Not just myself. Of course, I was killing my own body in the process. But at the same time, I was also not being kind to anybody. I didn't have a good relationship with my child until I left the relationship with my ex-husband. And when I left that, my relationship with my child has flourished. Why? Because I honored myself. When I honored myself, I'm able to honor my child. So in most situations where parents are not able to honor their children, it's because they did not honor when they were at that stand.
Yeah.
Now they don't know how to break the chain. So we all have to somewhere find a way to break the cycle. Like, in colleges, they say that we were ragged and we will rag. But there has to come a generation which says, okay, we were ragged, but we will choose compassion. We will choose kindness. And I think that's when I say that the journey of light over darkness is not, Lord Ram killing Ravan. It's we doing this for ourselves every day, multiple times in a day. Right? So it's really, really, really as much winning that we need to do on an everyday basis, on every act, every thought, everything that comes up, for even feelings for that matter. I want to hurt somebody. And like, okay, can I do, not from pushing yourself. See where the lesson is, where we are going, and transform that to love, kind of. So I totally resonate, Meera, with what you just said. If he does not honor himself, his own personal choices, what his calling is, if his calling is to be a vet, he would not like being an engineer. Like today, you ask me to do marketing, I don't feel like doing marketing. You push me to do it, I will start crying and I will not do it. You ask me to do this, I will do it 24/7.
Correct.
And I've come with 2 decades of marketing experience, but today you ask me to do it, I'm like, I can't do it. It kills me. I don't feel like doing it. It just doesn't work anymore. So I think honoring what's happening for us inside of our hearts and our bodies is so important. And our mind will play with us. That's the job of the mind, to keep us safe. It will play. Safety is the comfort zone space, and we have to step out of it. For that, quite literally.
Can you share your number so I can refer someone to you, please?
Sure. Okay, one moment. Is it okay to type my number here, or how does it work? Right.
You could type it in the chat box, and whoever wants it will be able to contact you.
Right. So thank you so much. Yeah, I'm short. Rest. Absolutely. I don't feel short anymore. I feel super tall already.
Good.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yes, just reminding everybody that we're all loved. Remember to remember that you are loved every day.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful to each and everyone who's had the patience and time to be with me today.
A lot of people have put, if you've read all the comments, they've been very happy with the presentation, and they say it's very impactful, wonderful. So thank you so much for all that.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. Very grateful.
Anyone would like to ask a question before we end? No? Okay, if that's the case, I now request Ramesh to kindly propose a vote of thanks. Over to you, Ramesh.
Certainly, Sajani. It's been a joy, actually. I think, Divya ji, what you've done today is you've actually created a space where, at least I can say from my side, and I'm sure I echo the others, that I felt more like myself. I was more authentic. And the way you spoke, you were very down to earth. You're very charming and very authentic. And it feels like, listening to a person who still has the child in them alive. Brings out the child in you. Like when we were authentic, when we did not have to wear masks, when we talked to one another, and we could be ourselves. I think that's a very powerful space. And obviously, you've created it because you're practicing it. And the glow that somebody mentioned that you have in your eyes, I think it comes from truth and authenticity. And for me, it hit me quite powerfully. There were many truth bombs, I can call it that. Having picked up the lexicon from the latest current trend, that you spoke, which is very powerful. One was you said, honor yourself, be authentic. The lesser the number of hats, that's what I typed out, based on what you spoke. The lesser the number of hats we wear in various situations, the more authentic we are. And I noticed that many times I do wear hats, though I'd like to convince myself saying that I wear these hats because I want to be appropriate to the situation, but sometimes it is because of certain a personal agenda that I wear these hats, though I try my best not to wear them and not to be inauthentic. But I really got it when you said, if we can be more truthful in every situation, be ourselves instead of masking ourselves. That was very powerful for me. The other ones you mentioned were that if you're looking for any breakthrough in a relationship, you have to accept them the way they are. I know we've always been told this many a time, to accept people, to accept our situations. But when you said it, maybe the space that you've created, it really hit me hard. And I think it's very useful because Diwali is around the corner, and there is one major relationship, parental relationship, that I have to deal with. And this would really come in very handy. And I think I suddenly got a spark which said, got an idea of how to. It really empowered me when that spark lit up. So with forgiveness, then forgiveness happens very naturally. For me, it's like I've forgiven them, but I think this time I can approach the situation in a lot more powerful manner, where probably it'll transform the relationship itself and bring joy to the other person as well. So and while it is good to be giving, we also need to be receiving, and that was another spark that suddenly lit up from within, that maybe if I receive it in a different way, I can be more free with not worrying about what it is that I'm going to be receiving. That was another very empowering thing that I got from what you spoke. I'm sure many others have these sparks within themselves. And you also are very unconventional in your thinking, I can make out, because when you said things like operate above the line of dignity, I've never heard that before. So when dignity for me, an earlier dignity would be like to maintain a prim and proper appearance. But now I've realized this dignity that you spoke about is the dignity of how one relates to one's own self. And if we can do that more and more authentically, then the way we respond to the situation would be so different. We don't have to react to these situations. And ultimately, like you said, if we remember that we are that we were born from a space of love, and that we are love itself, I think it kind of transforms everything. It transforms the way the world works. Right now, I know that a lot of people are going through a lot of pain, and probably the world is entering a phase of war. But I don't see it as a necessarily scary. I see it more as a cleansing process where a wonderful new era is coming in, and that really comes from that space of creating love. So, and the ability to hold on and increase the light rather than the darkness. So you've created that space for us today, for which we're very grateful. Thank you so much. And we do hope that we have a nice workshop with you at the School of Ancient Wisdom in the future. So on that note, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart on everyone's behalf. And we do hope that we have another session with you, whether in person or even otherwise online. We look forward to it. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Ramesh. Thank you once again, Divya. It was really very nice, the whole workshop. And as Ramesh said, we hope that we see you sometime in person. All right. And I'd like to remind everyone that we meet every Thursday between 6:30 and 8:30. Kindly tune on. And this is something that was started by the founder. And I'm so glad that, it continues. Thanks to your support. Kindly tell other people to join. There are programs every day, some in Kannada, some in English. However, this Thursday program is something that was started by Manizi herself. And I'm glad that all of us still join it. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you, Sajani. Thank you, Divya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.